Hi and welcome to another performance review by the Tech Geeks. I'm Paul. Today we're going to have another look at this. This is part of the Ubiquiti SuperLink range. This is the sub-gigahertz band that's used for things like these little environmental monitors. We've got break glass monitors, we've got relays coming, we've got sirens out already, motion sensors. This is, well, it used to be called the UP SuperLink. Now it's the USL gateway for Ubiquiti SuperLink. When this came out, we tested this. The idea is with that sub 1 gigahertz band, so we work in sort of the 800 megahertz. The smaller the frequency like that, the further we can get through, and especially get through more dense materials. We did some testing with it. We could put the sensors like this one in a metal fridge. When we got through about 3-4 concrete walls, it wasn't doing quite so well. We tried it outside, and with just this little stubby antenna, maybe we were getting about 120 meters. It had to travel through a couple of buildings in our test, but it was, you know, fairly useful, but it was nowhere near the 2 kilometers that Ubiquiti said you could potentially do. Now, we all know that some of that is theory. So all we had was this little stubby antenna, but along Ubiquiti have come with this, the Ubiquiti Lightsaber. Well, it's not actually, it's the high gain antenna for the USL gateway. So what we're going to do is redo some of these tests. We're going to pop this outside a little bit higher up so it has a little bit more coverage. We're going to run it using the environmental. This, if you're not seeing it, has drip sensors on the top, standing water sensors on the bottom, and does temperature and humidity. So it's quite a nice little device. We're going to stand this outside. We're going to pop it there and just use this stubby little antenna to start with, just to get a feel for how far we can get the signal outside at the best we've got. We will have some buildings to go through and show you a little bit of footage of how that works. Then we're going to swap it out for this high gain antenna, and we're going to see what increased distance we've got. Because obviously maybe you're wanting to put this out, you know, near some of your sheds, maybe some area where there's higher risk of, you know, of a leak. Or you want to put motion sensors around, you know, your fuel bowsers or those type of things. So hopefully this will be useful, give you a little bit of an idea of what we can do. Okay, we're here outside on a beautiful Queensland, Australia day. Got this put up behind me just with the normal stubby antenna. There you go. High-tech elastic band set up in place. We have our environmental monitor here with us. Our aim is to try and see if we can get really as far down here as before. Last time when we did this, we really couldn't get more than about 80 meters just down towards the end of the street, allowing for this house and another house at the bottom of the street. Now, right up there in the distance, you could probably just about see it. Left-hand side of that tree is about 800 meters. That would be the ideal if we could get there using the high gain antenna, but we'll see how far we can actually get. So let's head on down the street. We're going to get this recording on the computer as well as my phone so we can see an idea of the distance we get. So here we are, we're at about 90 meters. If we look up here, just there is where it is at the moment. So when we're looking at the phone, we can actually see we've got around about half signal strength, which is working pretty well and everything is functioning. We'll now maybe try and head on to 150 meters, probably then somewhere around about 200 meters, and if we can at about 400 meters, and see how it goes. Okay, so we're now at about 150, 140 meters, and we're just up there, just under the tree. Just going to see whether we've got any resulting lights on here. If we push our little sensor button, there we go. We still show we've got a blue connected light, which is quite good. Let's just walk and just grab a few moments of shade, but we will put you what can be seen on the computer there as well. I was just going to actually have a look on my phone here and see whether we're connected still at this point in time. Looking on my phone here in Unified Protect, we can see that we've still got just about 3 bars, so at about 150 meters. So we're just going to push on a little bit further, and let's just see what we can come up with doing that. Now, obviously, we've got buildings now starting to form in the way, and, you know, foliage and everything like that, and the angle of the ground. But again, you know, if these are going to be dotted around your property, that's pretty good with that little stubby aerial on it. It would be great to see what we can do at a further distance now as well. So I can see that the sensors now is dropping down into an orange. There you can see on my mobile phone. So we're probably just coming up to about the 200 meter mark. And this is where it does become a little bit more interesting, because the device will probably start to drop out somewhere around about here. So let's just have a little look and see where we can get to. I'd like to just try and see if we can get it where we do our normal tests, and the tests are normally about 300 or so meters, just on the other side with the railway line there, that we're just coming up to. And that would give us a good indication of how far we could actually get with this. All right, but we can see 2 bars, still working along here, still doing actually pretty well. I reckon there's might be a little bit of sweat there on my hand. Let's try and see if I can get this to alarm. But I don't think it's probably online now. Let's just have a little look and see. Stand in the shade so we can have a look. Yep. So it's even told me on my phone there that I've pushed the button, so it is actually still functional at this point. And in fact, this has actually got quite a good signal. We're probably here now at about 200 meters. Very difficult to actually see. It's past the house that's here. It's sort of somewhere up there at about 200 meters. And that's working fairly good. You can actually see we've actually picked up the signal strength is a little bit better. So we will trundle on and see whether we can get to our sort of midway point, which is at sort of that 350 meters or so on the other side of this railway line. And that'll give you a good idea, and that's just with the normal antenna running on it. Obviously this is now all about how many obstacles and everything else we have in the way. But again, all of these tests give you an idea of what is actually achievable. So we're just coming up to a spot that's about 400 meters away. You'll actually see on my phone that it has actually dropped offline. And that's fairly common that I find. Obviously it's not designed to be moving around, it's meant to be in one stationary location. We'll just come round to a better spot that's in line now. We may have pushed this to the maximum distance that it would actually be able to go now. But let's just see when I walk back to be slightly more in line. Hopefully we might actually get this to come back online. I probably just need to push the sensor button on to actually get this to work, but let's just see what we can do as we get a little bit closer, because I just needed to walk around the back. But let's just have a look and see if this is possible. This is where we do most of our other tests from. It's really difficult, but essentially just somewhere up there is the property. So let's now just have a little look and see whether it is completely offline or whether we can actually bring that back online. I'm just gonna hit the button in the middle there of the device again, just to try and get it to call home. All right, it shows possibly a little blue light, very difficult to see. Let me just scroll through here and see if I can find where the staff fridge is. There it is down there. I have a suspicion that we're probably not going to get anything at this spot. We will just stay here for a couple of minutes, because sometimes this does reset itself after a few moments. It is magnetic. Let's pop it up on the top there. Let's pop it up here on the top of the fence. Just there we go. Right, so I have just mounted this on the top of the fence here, just to let it set in one place for a little while. And you can actually see on the phone it's actually come back with 3 bars of connection. So even at this distance, now it could be helping that that bar is helping do some of that, but at this distance of about 400 meters, that is doing really, really well. I'm not sure whether I'm going to bother trying to get any further. Obviously there's going to be hit and miss. You can see what the dB level has got to. It's actually pretty epic there at this moment in time. So 400 meters with the standard antenna. You can see, you can't even see the property. We have trees in the way, we've got houses in the way. So that's actually pretty good at this point, and I reckon you might be able to get another 100 meters or so. So now we're going to swap it over for the high gain antenna and give it another go there, and hopefully get out to that 800 meters, and it should be working at that distance. Okay, so hopefully you can see we actually got to about here, so about 400 meters away. So it does just show that really going for the mounting this up at a good bit of height is worthwhile. So what we're going to do is now let's switch this around and let's put that high gain antenna on it and see if we can get out to the furthest distance we can. Okay, you can see the high gain antenna is on, a little bit higher than when we had it before. Now the project plan is to get somewhere out just beyond that tree over there, which is about 800 meters, right up onto the top road up there, see where we can get to. We're just going to check on the computer to make sure there's no settings to change to tell the system it's got a high gain antenna, and then we'll wander out and see what we can do. Okay, so I'm out here at the 90 meter mark. Now, you can actually see the signal strength is worse on this than we had when we were running this with the shorter stubby antenna. I think that's probably because this is definitely more vertically aligned, and so as a result it's having a little bit of a less give, because remember I've dropped down probably about 8 meters below it now. So as we walk in the distance, I would expect we'll go to that 400 meters again. I would expect probably stronger signal then, and then again a proper stronger signal as we get to 800 meters. But let's just wander on to about 150 meters here and just see if the signal strength picks up a little bit as we go. I don't think it probably will, but it'd be just worthwhile to see if anything's happening. But I think probably at 400 meters we'll be slightly more in line with it and get a slightly better result than we did with the little stubby antenna on it, and hopefully see this coming to its own. Probably for the best for here, if you've got a slight slope, is maybe to point it downwards very, very slightly just to get the best out of it. So we're here now at the 150 meter mark. You can see we've probably dropped to one bar there. Just a reminder, we're really just heading, where are we heading? I think so where are we heading? We're heading just above here, just somewhere about here is where it is. So you can see it's actually at this moment dropped offline, or with a very, very poor signal strength at this state, which is very, very interesting. So let's run on now to 200 meters and we'll see if we can improve that again as we walk around here and see whether it's going to come on a little bit better for us. So we'll just get that link light going again, just so that it's trying to connect. It does, as you can see, say it's online. I'm just not sure there whether it's doing anything useful. Okay, so we are at the 200 meter mark. Again, right up through here. I did get an alert on my phone that's showing me that I have pushed the button on the device, but I'm not actually getting, as you can see on the phone, really any signal strength. Again, I think because of the way that high gain antenna is, I'm not getting anything useful from it because I'm below it. So it'll be interesting as we gain some height. Okay, this is where you can start to see it coming into its own. This is where we were before, and it had actually dropped off and we had to stabilize it on the top of the pole. You can actually see that we've got 2 bars. Again, a little look here, straight ahead of us, pretty much through that big tree that's there. So it's somewhere just straight through there is the property we're actually looking at. And you can see we've got 2 bars quite comfortably on there. Let's go up to a little bit higher, which I think it will probably perform even better at, and we'll try it again there. Okay, so I'm up here 800 meters away. Let me just turn this so you can see. There you can probably see it just straight through here. We're almost at the same level with it. Was starting to lose some hope. Was starting to actually think that nothing was going to come up. But at this level, as you can see, not actually showing anything on the phone as signal strength. If I push the button on the device, which I've just got by me, you can see that it triggered the device. So I know that it's getting home. Oh, there you go. It just has to report in, and it just has to have those first few functions to actually see it happen. So we're at 800 meters and we've got 2 bars of connectivity. Again, we're roughly the same level as it, so I do think that that has quite a bearing on it. Certainly with this high-end gain antenna, but at 800 meters, it works. You can see we had about 2 bars of connectivity there at 400 meters, and if you're closer, you just need to get the angle right as well. Don't know whether we can test that any further. I would think again, maybe at 1.5 kilometers, you might be starting to struggle, but hopefully that gives you an idea of what you can get from this. Head on over to our YouTube channel. Got plenty more performance reviews, how-to guides, box openings, and everything else. But hopefully that was useful to at least see with the USL gateway and the high gain antenna there with the Superlink, how far you can get. In fact, as it's stabilized now, we've got 3 bars of connectivity just at this point in time, just as the device is sitting here just beside me here on the cabinet. So yes, probably with the right environmentals, not much obstruction, you probably could get 2 kilometers, but certainly around your property, you should be able to get some of those sensors working well, the alarms and everything else. Hopefully that's been useful. I'm Paul from thetechgeeks.com.